Meanwhile,
भाईजान कुछ ज्यादा नहीं हो गया ये? मतलब कुछ भी.
The talking topic regarding Pushpa and its quality has been ongoing ever since its release, where one section of the audience, which represents the majority, absolutely enjoyed this thrilling ride of Pushpa's rise to power and prominence, especially conveyed through the conviction of Allu Arjun. The other section of the audience that represents the minority, me included, considers it to have several issues in its storytelling, especially due to its problematic romantic subplot and its lethargic running time and screenplay that carried on for close to 3 hours. I acknowledge that a lot of the film's intention was world building so that it can get into the meat of the matter in part 2, but I just considered Sukumar's quality of storytelling in Rangasthalam far more compelling and grounded compared to Pushpa. Now that we anticipate what will happen as Pushpa has risen to the top and is under constant threat by the police, the creators put out a concept teaser highlighting when and where the movie will be set. I genuinely love the idea of the concept teaser to carry on for a long running time of over 3 minutes and its editing essentially just building up to the ultimate reveal. What becomes very clear is that Sukumar is attempting to present Pushpa as a messiah of the downtrodden and poor, a Robin Hood figure of sorts that justifies his illegal businesses because they are for the greater good. While the build-up of the teaser was skillfully done, when it transitions to focus on how Pushpa has been found on a CCTV footage in forests that usually monitor tigers, I won't lie that I chuckled at the unintentionally funny scene of Pushpa being so intimidating, his presence being so daunting that even tigers take 2 steps back. But as Sukumar is known for his attention to detail and the colors signify important elements in his story, the red color on his fingernail intrigued everyone. Is this a particular getup taken up by Pushpa, or is it representative of where he is hiding? The biggest talking point actually became about Allu Arjun's first poster for Pushpa 2, The Rule, and I thought it was an exceptionally profound and bold move to release it as the first look of the film. Social media went up in arms about how if a Hindi film hero would have done the same, insinuating even being close to the vicinity of goddess Kali or Shiv and holding a gun, how the boycott campaigns would have immediately started and how they would have not been spared. I mean, if the boycott campaigns can be for a color of a swimsuit as if claiming ownership of the color, then you know they can go to any length in making their agenda how their feelings have been hurt. Keeping that hypothetical aside, I think like every other scene or visual, it's important to understand context or nuance, which very few people in this age of social media have time for. One can easily assume that as the film is set in Tirupati, Pushpa might want to assimilate in the crowd during the festival where men dress as women as a sign of the mistreatment that was caused to women by the chief centuries ago. The getup becomes an homage to the legend of Gangama, who killed the chief who caused many atrocities to women across the years. Such detailing I believe is important as context always matters. I remember when the first look of Junior NTR revealed him with a skull cap, people were up in arms thinking how Komram Bhim can be showcased as a Muslim, not realizing in context to being in hiding it all makes sense. The case of reacting before doing research continues in the age of social media where everyone wants to rage and project while one can research and look within first. Beyond the concept teaser of Pushpa, I saw 2 films this weekend that generated both apathy and absolute disgust respectively. So let's get to a movie which I, with my thorough, in-depth English vocabulary, can best describe as meh. Gumraah is a remake of the 2019 Tamil film Thadam and stars Aditya Roy Kapoor, Ronit Roy and Mrunal Thakur in lead roles. And while everyone would want to simply crap on this film just on the pretext of it being a remake, I thought I could tell you about its quality and biggest failings. A murder takes place, the suspect Arjun Sehgal played by Aditya is brought into questioning and the case seems like a pretty straightforward open and shut case, only to realize that there is a lookalike Suraj as well, who committed the murder while exploring several subplots that include their respective origin stories, motivations and the animosity and history they have with the police forms the basic premise of Gumraah. I straight off the bat have to tell you 2 things. The film is a scene-to-scene remake of Thadam, so there is genuinely only novelty for this film if you have not seen the original. And second, the movie is clearly an attempt to showcase to the public the ability of Aditya Roy Kapoor as an actor and that he can be convincing beyond the cookie-cutter romantic roles. Through most of the running time, Aditya really does put forth a convincing act, having a natural command on humor, especially with Suraj's character, and an intensity with Arjun that makes it clear he is not just a one-trick pony, even though people keep on complaining that he's too pretty and it's distracting. हमने तो पूरी जिंदगी प्रीति जिंटा और ऐश्वर्या राय को देखा है तो हम तो कभी डिस्ट्रैक्ट नहीं हुए, so I'd never get this criticism. The biggest distraction or demerits of the film are its attempt at humor in music and dance by showcasing the incompetence of the police force, one Havaldar being obsessed with chatting with a cam model, a forensic expert who is more interested in getting Ronald's number, and Suraj's friend Kulbhushan, aka Chaddi, and the several arguments that they get into. Seeing Aditya trying to dance on an item song was a sword to the eye, especially seeing him try to do body rolls with his stiff upper body produced the Ramadhir Singh within me. Mrunal Thakur has little to do and is formidable in her role, and Ronit Roy is in his ugly mode as the presiding officer determined to nab the man he has history with. The biggest revelation for me in this film, however, was the natural performance by Vedika Pinto, who absolutely deserves a full-fledged role in the future, absolutely killing it as the romantic lead with Aditya. Their chemistry never coming across as forced or rehearsed to the point of being unconvincing. The film slowly focuses on the case at hand and the bewilderment of the police of how it gets murkier as the time passes. This is where the movie showcases Suraj spitting law jargon game out of nowhere that seemed so forced and gimmicky. When the case and the investigation develops, Aditya really shines in extracting some genuine laughs as the police starts roaming around in circles rather than a probable solution. But the movie fails in keeping you truly engaged, guessing, wondering at the edge of your seat. 1. Who did it? And 2. Will the person get away with it? Making Gumraah a worthy remake, but I literally see no point in one going for the film if they have seen Thadam, as it offers nothing particularly unique compared to the original film. Moving on to the film that absolutely left me speechless for all the wrong reasons and I genuinely believe deserves a special place in the Matlab Kuch series is Ravanasura, directed by Sudhir Verma and starring Ravi Teja in the lead role. Ravi Teja has an undeniable swagger and wickedness on the big screen which I think gets wasted in just the saturation of appearances in films which work in some cases but lead to huge misses because they end up being like any other generic outing. I thought that Ravanasura might be an interesting film, especially looking at its well-edited trailer, but my god, I did not envision to see such a backward and socially problematic film. The movie focuses on a junior lawyer Ravindra played by Ravi Teja who implores his boss to take up an infamous case of a murder being caught on camera and the outright denial of the man convicted for the same. The probable connection it has to several murders taking place ahead in the screenplay exploring what could possibly be the person's motivation and goal as the police take a keen interest at the turn of events forms the premise of this film. If there is one thing that is undeniable regarding Ravi Teja is that he has amazing comic timing. But the sad part about the comedy in this film, it is only aimed at women, their personality, their body or their intellect. It's insults disguised as comedy, the lowest hanging fruit one can think of regarding comedy, just like stand-up comedians in the guise of crowd work just end up insulting people. Ravindra fancies his boss since college, but while knowing she is married, borders on being a creep whenever he interacts with her, holding her tightly whenever he gets a chance, even trying to blackmail her by taking a selfie in a compromising position. The women in this film are only objects of desire, meant to be groped, harassed and abused, all under the guise of an eventual noble revelation. But the events that transpire up till the interval is really tough to sit through. Ravindra describes his client as being sure that she's doing her makeup. Even if her lover would be in the ICU or jail, she would be doing her makeup. He describes the girl as being worthy of marriage because she has a lovely figure. It's a treat to see Ravi Teja dance, but the music can be termed as forgettable at best. The action set pieces are poorly choreographed, mostly catering to the star presence of Ravi Teja with slow motion shots, and there is only one exceptional long shot that is set in the police station which is beautifully staged. And I wish that the film would have sprinkled inventive ideas like that regarding its action choreography, but it wasn't the case through rest of the film. The sad reality of this film is that you see absolutely inhumane, nasty and creepy things that transpire on the big screen, and you know that all of this will eventually have a noble motive, but the acts committed are so vile and disgusting, the noble act almost seems inconsequential because it borders on being torture porn and sadistic at one point. The interval block is tough to sit through as abuse against a woman carries on for so long that it takes pleasure in one's misery. People hooted and cheered in the theatre as a character attempted a dirty talk while hitting a girl, and it honestly made me sick to the stomach. The sequence borders on wanting to titillate only versus actually providing context to why someone would go to such a horrible length. The one thing that you will realize while watching Ravanasura is that Ravi Teja as an unhinged and ruthless villain is still untapped. An actor with such a commanding presence, great comic timing and a devilish smile deserves better writing, and he can be one of the most formidable evil baddies in a big budget film. The movie transitions to become a dumbed down revenge saga with generic mass elements and sprinkled misogyny everywhere. The term rape is casually passed around, the hero exclaiming, "I did not want to waste her bountiful beauty, so I raped her." A parallel with Joker is made, but there is literally no parallel except a devilish smile. One's origin story actually being nuanced versus the other just lazy. Saying lines like a woman should be dining and bedding whenever she is called, all under the guise of there being a profound and noble point ahead, is just an excuse to show more sequences of abuse against women. The hero gets lauded for his culture and sensitivity, while just a few sequences ago he was harassing a woman in her own house. Ravanasura is tough to sit through, even when it attempts to do a rip-off of John Wick 3 in the identical setting for its climax action set piece. This attempt at heroes doing bad things and then eventually having a justification for it opens the gates to them to do anything. And Ravanasura is probably the most uncomfortable example of the same, where women especially will feel genuinely disgusted at the things that happen on the big screen in the excuse that is called storytelling. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about the movies that released this weekend and the first look of Pushpa. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.